So my name is Joan Adler, and I am a volunteer for two organizations. One is called Senior Medicare Patrol, and they are a national organization that tries to prevent Medicare fraud, and we'll talk more about that. I am also a Medicare Counselor with an organization called PA Medi, and what we do is we help explain Medicare to people. And we also do individual counseling to help people get the right plan for them. And we're mainly volunteers. We don't get paid. We don't get kickbacks. We don't get a fee if we sign you up for a plan. We're volunteers. So the first thing I want you to know is that Medicare has your number. That's the most important thing to take away. If anybody calls representing the government, Medicare, Social Security, and they ask for your number, hang up the phone. You should treat your Medicare number as if it were your credit card number. Give it to your doctors and other providers, and give it to your PA Medi counselor so that we can help you with plans if you need help. But if you think that your number has been compromised, you can always call Medicare and they'll give you a new Medicare number. So
I never answer the phone. If someone,
that's a good idea.
I never do phone call at
That's
all.
a good
I
idea.
always do letter only.
Very good
The
idea.
little
I'm very
space between
smart.
when I say hello and they say hello, I hang up.
Yes.
Because you can tell when you
Yeah,
know.
so the other good thing is to just say, hang on a minute, I'm going to turn down the radio. And
Yeah.
put the phone down and leave it connected.
Yeah,
And then they're stuck on the phone until they figure out you're not coming back.
right.
So that's like 2 or more people they can't
Annoying.
scam while you're,
Right.
you have them on the phone. Anyway, so I already told you this information. Senior Medicare Patrol is a national organization. We do presentations. We try to make people aware of the ways that fraudsters are stealing money from our Medicare pool. And in Philadelphia, the Senior Medicare Patrol is hosted by CARI, which is the Center for Advocacy for the Rights and Interest of Elders. And they do a lot of work. They help people with Medicare appeals. They do a lot of advocacy work for seniors. So they're a great organization. And again, as I said, I can say it more times, Medicare knows your number. Nobody will ever ask you to verify your Medicare number. So what is Medicare fraud? Medicare fraud is knowingly and willingly trying to get money out of Medicare or getting information from you under false pretenses, deception, or misrepresentation in order to get payments from Medicare for services you have not received or do not need. And so mistakes happen, but fraud is when it's intentional. So here are some examples of fraud. So one is billing for services, supplies, or equipment that were not provided, or billing for things that were provided to you that you didn't ask for and your doctor didn't order. Getting your Medicare number to pay for free services. So if you go somewhere to get a COVID shot, unless it's your drugstore, if someone has a booth out at the health fair and they're going to give you free COVID tests or free shots, but they just need your number to verify, walk away.
Oh yeah.
And a lot of times the stuff that's in the needle is not really COVID vaccine, and lab tests may be fraudulent. So.
Oh.
Another example of fraud is you having somebody use your Medicare number to get their services, ordering unneeded or excessive x-rays, lab tests, or medical equipment, submitting claims for services that are not medically necessary, and improper coding by your provider to get a higher payment. So who does it affect? So it affects Medicare beneficiaries because we end up with higher deductibles and pay higher premiums. There's less money in the Medicare pool for benefits that we could use. They do medical identity theft, and that
yeah, I
leads
hate
to
that.
stealing your identity in other ways, and it decreases the quality of care that you get. For instance, if you let your cousin use your Medicare number because they don't have Medicare and they need to get insulin and need to see their doctor, then they go in under your number. That doctor writes down that you are a diabetic, and you may not be a diabetic, but that'll show up the next time you go see a doctor. So that affects your care. It also affects everybody because Medicare loses, you won't believe this, 60 to 90 billion dollars. You don't see my pointer
Gosh.
either.
They always use that word billion all the time. Billion, 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 billion.
Okay, there you go. Billions annually to fraud, errors, and abuse. And there's billions of dollars lost because of improper claims that are done by unscrupulous providers to get more money. And it ends up putting the Medicare Trust Fund at risk.
God.
So how does it affect me? Everybody wants to know, why should I care? Well, Medicare won't pay twice for medical equipment. So if a fraudster got a wheelchair on your number, and then you find you need a wheelchair, Medicare is going to say, I already got you a wheelchair. You got to wait 5 years for a wheelchair.
Oh, God, I didn't know that.
If someone uses your annual wellness visit and you turn up at the doctor and say, I'm here for my yearly checkup, you'll get a bill because someone's already used your annual wellness visit. Again, if someone is using your number for care, you might be billed if Medicare doesn't pay everything. If it's an Advantage plan, you might have to pay the copay for somebody else's services. As I said before, your doctor may treat you for diseases you don't have because it's on your medical record. Also, often people receive boxes of medical equipment like ACE bandages, neck braces that they don't need, haven't been ordered, but the fraudster ordered it under your number and is getting paid for a box full of supplies, and they land on your doorstep and you can't do anything with them. But that's a sign that you've been involved in Medicare fraud, and I would call Medicare and ask for a new number. And again, you may be billed for free services like a COVID test. So again, this says millions of dollars, but we know it's billions. So what is the best way to prevent fraud? The best way is to guard your number. And I don't even carry my Medicare card with me. I take a picture of it. It's in my phone. And if they want to see it at the doctor's office, they have to copy down the number. They're there, they get paid. They can't just stick my card in. They have to copy the number. Too bad for them. I'm keeping my number safe. If you lose your wallet, you won't lose all the cards if the cards are in your phone. Always read your Medicare statements to know that you're being billed for something you got. So that's what this is, personal health tracker. It's so that you can write down the dates and times of your visits and who you saw. Because if you get a bill that says you saw Dr. Smith on July 7th and you know you were in Miami on July 7th, you know that's a fraudulent bill. Well, maybe it's a mistake. And if you know Dr. Smith, you can call his office and say, did you submit this bill because I know I didn't see you on that date? Or you go to have your cataracts done and you get a bill from Dr. Jones, and you never saw Dr. Jones. You have no idea who Dr. Jones is. So you call the office and they say, oh, Dr. Jones was the anesthesiologist.
He was a
And you say,
pathologist. I
yes.
used to work in a medical office for
Right.
30 years. So.
Right, so it may be really your bill, but if you don't recognize it, call the office and ask them to check. Check your dates of service. Yes, and only give your number to your doctor or provider or someone you have called to change your plan. And these are the numbers to call. The number on this sheet is the 800 number, which is the national number. They will send it through. I guess this is also the national number, but Cary has a local number as well. But all these numbers lead to the same place, and they will help you fight fraud. So what they do when you report it is someone investigates it, and they send the information to the Attorney General, and the Attorney General can track down these people and prosecute them and sometimes put them in jail, which is where they belong. But some people do not report Medicare fraud. Why? Because they feel stupid, because they gave someone their number that they weren't supposed to. They may feel embarrassed. They may not be sure if it's a scam, but I told you some ways that you can check by checking your dates of your service and also calling your providers. Sometimes people think it's too much trouble. And they say, well, what's going to happen anyway? Well, I'll tell you what's going to happen. There are doctors who are habitual fraud billers. They either bill too much for your service or they bill for services they didn't provide. They get arrested. They get put in jail. They get a fine. And sometimes they lose their medical license, or certainly they lose the ability to participate in Medicare. So these are some do's and don'ts. Do treat your Medicare card like a credit card. Be careful of identity theft. Be aware that Medicare does not call you, and be very cautious of any offers for free stuff. Don't give your number out, as I said, and don't be afraid to hang up the phone or shut the door on someone you think is trying to scam you. If your bank calls you and says, we need some information, the best thing to do is hang up the phone and what? Call your bank.
Or go visit them in person.
Or go visit them in person. So, and I said before, if you think you've given out your Medicare number by mistake and you're getting things that you didn't order, call 1-800-MEDICARE and say, I've been scammed, I need a new Medicare number. And again, you can always call the Senior Medicare Patrol. The number is on the Cary pens in the back, it's on the leaflet, it's on the back of this. And
You're going to give us some leaflets to take home, right?
They're right in the back on the table.
Okay, good.
So now I've really talked a lot about Medicare fraud. I'd like to talk a little bit about some other scams. So there's all these scams that are called social engineering because they get you when you're online. And the International Criminal Police, which is Interpol, you may have heard of them, they are investigating scams used by criminals to exploit your trust in order to get money or to get confidential information from you so that they can do identity theft and commit subsequent crimes. So what they try to get from you is personally identifiable information like your birth date, your address, your social security number, your Medicare card, or your personal health information like your Medicare number, your other insurance coverage, your doctor's name, all of that stuff they try to get from you so they can steal your identity. So the first step in this cycle is they try to get information. So they identify a victim, and unfortunately many of us are victims. We live alone, we're older, we may be lonely, we like to talk on the phone, and they call on the phone and try to get a hook. A hook is where they try to establish a relationship with you. They're very nice people. They only say nice things to you. They try to gain your trust. They may give you a dog and cat story. And they try to get your name, your address, your date of birth, or other personal information on you.
Can I share something for a minute with you?
Sure.
I have gotten a couple of phone calls I never answer with messages on my voicemail saying, congratulations, you have won a prize.
That's a scam.
Come pick up your prize.
Absolutely.
We are very legitimate. We've been trying and trying to reach
Sure.
you, and I got 3 of them, and I never responded to them.
Yeah, you don't answer.
No.
Yeah,
I
never
mean, we can
responded.
talk more about this. I got a text from Kevin at the post office saying that they were trying to deliver a package to me, but they couldn't deliver it. And could I please click this link to give them information so they could deliver my package? Well, I get like 10 packages a day at my house, and mail, and I have a porch, and things don't get stolen from my porch.
Right.
So I did not click, you don't click any links
No.
anywhere
No.
unless you've asked for a link.
No, I knew it was a scam because come pick up. This is such and such. No name.
Right.
They don't know my name.
Well, sometimes, as we'll see, they'll give you their name, and they even know your name, and they might even know your Medicare number.
No, well, my phone number showed up on,
Right.
on my call ID.
Right.
They know my phone number.
Right, and they can fake phone numbers on caller IDs as well. So the next step in this, after they've established a relationship, is play, which is the game of exploitation. So then you've already given them your number, so then they ask you, have you had any back pain, or have you had any problems you haven't seen the doctor for?
I get a call that says, "Are you a diabetic?" Which I'm not.
Yes, of course.
And I said, that's between me and my doctor.
Yes, and then
hang up.
they'll send you diabetic
No,
supplies that they
no.
filled in your name. And then exit is when they've got as much information as they possibly can, and then they try to hang up the phone as quickly as possible so that they can get on to the next person they can
Right.
scam, which is why I like the method of just laying the
Put it
phone
down,
down
let them hang.
and letting them sit there for 5 minutes waiting for you to come back.
Oh, yeah.
So there's all kinds of things they do. There's baiting, which is where they offer you free services in exchange for some of your personal information. There's phishing, which is where they
Try again.
go on your emails or text messages or phone calls, and they're just trying to figure out if you're somebody who's going to respond or talk to them. Then vishing is when it comes on the phone. And sometimes when they get you on the phone, they start using really aggressive language like, you must give us your number because we're going to get you your new Medicare card. If you don't give us your number, your Medicare is going to be canceled.
But they should know your Medicare number if they're calling for
You mean
Medicare.
they leave that
Of
on your
course they
voicemail?
should.
They leave it
They'll
on your...
leave it on your voicemail. They'll leave it if you pick up the phone. There
Oh,
is no new plastic Medicare card.
No.
There is no
I got a call the other
Medicare
day,
Gold
have you gotten
card.
your new Medicare card? Now, I
Right.
know, working in an office for 30
Right.
years, you don't get a new Medicare card every year.
You don't get a new card.
Once you got it, you got it.
My
Right.
sister got calls from that said they were the IRS and that they owed
Yes,
money.
absolutely. This is what
Oh,
they
that
do.
would scare
And
the
that's
hell out of
scare.
me.
This is called the scare tactics. Either, you're on the IRS and you owe money, or there's been a
The IRS
lawsuit.
does not call you, they
Of
would
course,
send you a
the
letter.
IRS never calls you. Or
They
you're
always
being
send letters, they
sued,
never
and
call.
if you don't respond,
Yeah.
you'll be arrested.
Somebody's calling me, I haven't heard your legal matter I need to discuss. Well, then
Yes.
you write me a letter.
Right. So then they call, one of them they call smishing, which is when they do it over text messages like Kevin from the post office, or spear phishing, where they know a lot about you and they use what they know about you to make you convinced that
They're legit.
they're legit, and you'll give them more information.
Oh God, that
Again,
I hope I
now
never
that there's
get
a lot
that.
of texting, they do a lot of texting. Now, because there have been a lot of hacks, they may already know your Medicare number, they may know your name and your address and your phone number, and they may really convince you that they're legitimate. But again, if you have any doubts, hang up the phone and call the agency that they said they were calling you from. Or they might say, have you received your free COVID tests? Well, guess what? There are some more free COVID
Yeah.
tests now,
I saw
but
the
you
old
order
ones.
them through the post office,
Yeah.
not through some company or some table at a
Right.
health fair.
Right.
And just say no, and then they may apologize and say, we'll send you a new kit. What's your address?
Yeah.
And now there's a whole lot of things. Again, we talked about the medical equipment, genetic testing, free genetic testing. Just give me your number. I'm going to tell you, I'm not going to let an organization that I don't know do my genetic testing anyway.
No.
I would
Right.
go
Check with your
through
doctor.
a reputable place. Yeah, and here again, so then they said the plastic card, the gold card, a card with a chip. You don't need a card with
No.
a chip. And your cards don't expire.
No.
And then they say that you'll get a $10,000 fine if you let your Medicare card expire. Your Medicare card never
Expires when you
expires.
die.
Right. And you know, what else do? They sell the information they got to other crooks.
Right.
So then you'll get 10 more calls from other crooks to get
Mhm.
more information or steal your identity.
Like when you give money for the animal rights people.
Make sure you're giving
They-
it to the right people. Right.
Well, I sent them, and they started sending me a lot of things, and
Yes.
but no, they weren't scammers. They just
No, and they sell
and then
your address
other people
too.
other people want you to send them
Of
money,
course.
Yeah.
and on and on.
I get
and on.
something, and I do donate to them occasionally.
Yeah.
World Wildlife.
Yes.
But I get something every week,
Yes.
you know.
Well, you
Don't you
can
get
tell
my
them. I
money?
mean, if you have
Once a
email,
year I
you can
will give them-
unsubscribe.
Well, I don't use my cell phone. I have it off.
Right. So I have a
I
trash
have an answering
can
machine on my regular
right
phone,
next
yeah.
to my mail.
Yeah, I do too.
And a lot of it goes right into the mail without
Yeah.
opening. And they're wasting a lot of paper and killing a lot of trees. So what are the new scams that are coming? Well, most people like us do not use these authorized bank transfers like Venmo or Zelle.
I'd never heard of Venmo, and the
I use
Farmers-
PayPal.
the stand at the farmer's market that I
Yes.
go to,
Wants Venmo.
they want Venmo. I said, no, I'll
Sorry.
give you cash. They won't
Right.
take a regular credit card.
Well, that's too bad
And
then.
I put in like an order for
Oh,
Thanksgiving, a big
Bye.
order. Yeah, I mean, I'll go
I'll
get
give
some
you a
cash.
check. I'll give you
I
cash.
don't think
But
they'll take a check either, but I didn't know what Venmo was.
well, that's Venmo, and there's something called Zelle. Now, I have PayPal, which I've had for a long time,
I've heard
which
of
is
that.
very secure. And they also own Venmo, but I tried to use Venmo and it didn't work, and I
Mhm.
just said, forget it. I have PayPal. You don't take it, too bad.
Right.
And what was I going to say? Oh, but then you'll get emails. We'll get into that in a minute, with logos that look like PayPal, Microsoft, the IRS. We'll go into that too. Then there's the remote access tool, which you probably don't use at all, which is when you're on the computer and you call IT and IT comes into
I don't
your
have a computer.
computer to look around. That can be a fraud too, unless you've called them. Scams you may have seen. Okay, so again, we're talking about reviewing your Medicare summary notices or your explanation of benefits. And if you have a calendar on your wall or in your phone, you should always make sure that the date of service that you're billed for was a date that you went
Yeah,
to the
I
doctor.
always look at that.
Okay, so what else? Okay, again, PICO. PICO will never demand immediate payment, and they will not turn off your services, and they certainly will not ask for a prepaid credit card, Bitcoin, or digital money transfers like Venmo. Again, don't provide your account information. This is what came from PICO. Do not give your account information to PICO because if they call you,
They have it.
they have it. If you call them, then you can give them your number because you know you called PICO. Again, so always, if you have an account with PICO, make sure that they have your correct information and always check your bill. Then we have grandparent scams. You've probably heard about this. Somebody calls
Oh, yes, I've
and
heard
says
of
that they're a friend of your granddaughter. They may know you have a granddaughter.
Oh.
And she was arrested in Afghanistan, where, you know,
I've
you
seen
may
that
know
in New
she's
York magazines, they have those things.
yeah,
I've
she's
read
been
that.
traveling. She got arrested. They stole her passport. She needs $5,000 to get out of jail. Please, please, could you wire it to this person who's calling, what do?
Call your grandchild.
Hang up the phone, call your grandchild. And there are a lot of grandparent scams. They have a lot of great stories, and they may know a lot about you. They may know you have a grandson. They may know your child is traveling. If you can't get in touch with your grandchild, call their parents.
Right.
Because, they're just trying to get money from you. And there's the Nairobi prince who keeps, who says, I'm a prince, I've been exiled from my country, I'm trying to get my money out, I have millions of dollars in the bank, I just need $2,000 from you to get my money out, and then I will give you back $10,000. Sure. And I'm a prince too. Okay, money mules, okay? Money mules are you become a victim of a scam because somebody asks you to take some money somewhere or carry a package somewhere or promises you easy money if you do a little job for them. That's, again, probably fraud. It gets so bad that sometimes they call you on the phone and they just ask you questions until you say yes. And they record that you say yes.
Yeah.
And then they use that recording to say, well, she
Said yes.
she's allowed us to do this. So don't say yes, just hang up. It's always best just not to pick up the phone.
Yeah.
What else? All right, let's look. Here's Amazon.
Oh, God,
I
hate
have an Amazon account.
I don't.
Oh,
It
my
drives me
God.
nuts.
They want my identity verified because there's been unusual activity on my account. They had to suspend my account, and I can't use Amazon until I click this link. Guess what? Look at the email. Always look at the email address. I don't know if you can see this, but Amazon would have a very simple account that ended in Amazon.com.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have this gobbledygook up here. Always put your cursor on top of the email address, and if it comes up as gobbledygook, it is a scam.
I do not have an Amazon account.
Do you have a Yahoo account?
No.
Oh.
I have never dealt with Amazon. They
Well,
constantly call me.
You're the rare person.
I won't deal with
Amazon
them.
will not
I
call.
won't deal with them. They constantly call me. We have an authorization, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah,
And even when they won't listen to you if you try to poke the button or
Right.
talk to them.
Right.
I said, I do not have an Amazon account. I will never have one.
excuse me while I turn down the radio.
I will never have one. And I yell scam and I hang up.
Okay.
Constant.
Here's Yahoo. Now I have a
No, I
Yahoo
don't have that
email
either.
address. Yahoo. So this says my version is outdated and I need to update it. Okay? But look who's sending it to me. Buddy with a Gmail account. Why would Yahoo be sending me
Yeah.
something from a Gmail account? That makes no sense. Don't click any links.
No.
Okay, here's PayPal. I said I have a PayPal account. I use it all the time. It's very reliable. Here it says you sent a payment of $30 to Vouchers Gaming. Well, that's not so bad. It's the ones that say you spent $350 on porn. And you say, oh my God, I never did that. I need to correct this. Let me click the link. Before you click the link, check out the email address. What is that? This is not an email that's coming from
That's some
PayPal.
kind of icon.
This is another gobbledygook, okay? What else? Here's, again, another Amazon info. Thank you for your appreciation. Well, can anybody here spell appreciation? That's not how it's
I
spelled.
didn't see that.
Oh,
And again,
can't
it's
see
a
it.
cockamamie email address, and they want you to click. Don't click.
Appreciation.
Here's Netflix. I watch Netflix all the time. My account is on hold. How awful. Again, look at the email address. It's not Netflix. It looks like Netflix. It's somebody called convertkit.com. That's probably a place that allows you to pretend you're Netflix. What else? Apple? Do you have Apple?
No.
You have none of these things. So Apple
thing
One,
I have is,
I have all these things.
I only have Google because that's what I need for using
Well,
my phone.
Google, they scam that too. So again, they say they're Apple, and someone logged onto my account, but if you look at the email address, it's from Zillow.com. Anyone know what
I've heard of Zillow.
Zillow is a real estate
Oh,
agency.
okay.
So they're not Apple.
Huh.
They're definitely not Apple.
On my cable, you know, they have these things like Pluto and all that.
Yeah.
And if you want to get a movie,
Yeah, they're okay.
I
Unless
know-
you want to, unless they make
but
you sign
I
it.
click, you know, okay on my remote,
Yeah.
and to get a movie, and then they tell you how to go, then you go okay, and then they want you to do something.
Well, sometimes
So-
that's legitimate, but
and-
it's very hard to tell when it
Yeah,
isn't.
so what I do is I don't try to do it.
Yeah.
Right.
I just skip, and they're taking away all those little things. You know, at the bottom, when you scroll down, there are these little things like Pluto and then.
I've seen those.
And mine are shrinking, mine are going away.
Yeah, you can get rid of them.
Because
Okay, so anybody fly on Southwest?
No.
All right, so look at this. First of all, congratulations. You always have to look at funky spellings,
Congratulations.
okay? And then again, look at the email address. This is Miss C. Anklin Best. I don't know what that is. That's certainly not Southwest.
No.
Uh-huh. I
And
don't
then
fly-
let's
I
go
can't afford
to,
it.
this
I
is
haven't
like
flown for
Kevin from the
years.
post office, but you get a text. Do either of you text?
No.
Never mind.
What do you mean? No, I don't text.
Okay, so here's something that supposedly comes from Windows Defender. Now, I have Windows on my computer, and it says my threat protection annual subscription has been charged for $382. Wait a minute, I didn't do that. I better click on here right away and tell them I didn't do it because they're going to charge my credit card. But guess what? This is a scam, and it's coming from someone at Gmail. Not anybody from Windows or Microsoft. What's next? Urgent payment on your invoice. Last chance. You paid $599 for Norton with LifeLock theft protection. Well, that's a thing,
Yeah, I've heard of
and
that.
you see it on TV.
Yeah.
But again, it's coming from Valerie Francis. Who the hell is Valerie
Is
Francis?
LifeLock legitimate?
Is who?
LifeLock. To protect.
LifeLock.
Is that good or is that not good?
I mean,
People
yes,
who work
if you're
for
a
LifeLock
person.
might be dishonest.
No, LifeLock is a real company, and they charge you a lot of money to protect you.
They do.
And you
It's
may need it, and
expensive.
You may or may not need it. But again, they want you to call, and then they'll hook you in. So here's one I got the other day. I had to look at this several times because it looks legitimate. It says something about my loan on my mortgage. Fortunately, and then they have a check at the bottom. It looks like a check. It's not really a check. It says registration fee voucher, and it says without a home warranty in place, you're at risk of being financially liable. Oh my God. But then I thought twice, and I said, well, I did have a mortgage from them, but I paid my mortgage off years ago. But it made me stop and look,
Yeah.
because it looks so legitimate. And then again, they have all these stories. Your social security number has been frozen, but will help you keep your money safe. That's never going to happen.
No.
Health and Human Services, call in now for your free back brace. No.
No.
IRS, there's a lawsuit against you for unpaid
Are
taxes.
these letters they send or phone calls?
Yep.
They're letters?
Letters, phone calls, any way they can get you.
Oh, God.
A fake government grant. You're entitled to a government grant, but they want to charge you a fee and take all your information. And then, last but certainly not least, there is a warrant out for your arrest for failing to appear in court.
God.
So just remember, if it feels like a scam, it is a scam. Don't respond, don't answer, don't click. And if you think it's a scam and you want to take the time, call Carrie. You can do, if you know how to do a screenshot of the scam, or if you got a letter that's a scam. I got another thing the other day. I opened it up and it looks like it's from the government, and it has a picture of that John Smith Medicare card on it.
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't from Medicare. It's from somebody who wants to sign me up for something, and it's not legitimate.
Well, I got food stamps through my Medicare plan, and they sent me a card. And
That's not food stamps. That's called a flex card. That's a grocery card, and they do give it from your plan. And if they're not asking you to do anything, you can take it to the store and buy groceries with it.
Well, see, they sent me a letter saying that that it's time to review you. And
Yes, you need to recertify if it's really from your company. So then hang up the phone.
Well, they didn't
and
call.
call your Medicare
They
plan.
didn't call. They sent a letter saying that they wanted me to fill. They sent a letter. They sent a bunch of
Call
forms.
your plan. If it's not from the Department of Human Services or Social Security,
It was from the Department of Human Services.
then you have to recertify for your eligibility. And you
No,
do that
they
at your
told me I
county
had to fill
assistance.
forms out so
You
that I
do.
could recertify.
That you need to do.
And
If
they
you have
did
any-
that last year, but then they sent me a letter that I'd be
Every
getting
year.
another one.
Every year you have to recertify because they need to be sure that you're alive
Right.
and still
Eligible.
have your income eligibility.
I see. So
So
that's
if
not a
you-
scam, right?
Not something that comes from Social Security or something that comes from the Department of Human Services.
Yeah, I got
Those
it
are
said
not
Department of
scams.
Human Services on it.
And if you call the Department of Human Services, maybe not the number that's on that paper, but if you call the number that you know, they will tell you if it's a legitimate recertification form. And if you don't recertify for a government program, you will lose your benefits. Yes,
Yeah, they told me that. They said,
it's true.
but I wouldn't lose my Social Security and Medicare, just
Never.
the food stamp, right?
Yes. Food stamps or that heating program or
I have a
Medicaid.
gray plastic card with a picture of the Capitol on it. I swipe
Okay.
that to buy groceries.
Yes,
And I save money on
that's
food.
like an EBT card or something.
And
Yeah.
I was afraid that they would pile up and they'd say I owed the money back or something. I got really scared.
No, it will stop working when you run out of money.
I see, okay. Yeah, that's good.
So that's all I have to say. I'll give you back 15 minutes.